What's up guys, and welcome to the December edition of the Squishy Times. My name is Squishy Joshi. As this year comes to a close, we regrettably are going to be putting this new segment on an indefinite hiatus to make space for other things. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in this video, but let's start off with a couple of announcements first. So if you're a little behind on what's been happening in the Squishyverse, you may have missed that I have entered a partnership with Marvel Rivals. That means I need to be creating more content for the game, which means I need to shuffle around some of my priorities. Now, one exciting thing that I am playing for when it comes to this partnership is announcing my very own esports team, although it's not too serious, but at the same time we want to kind of make it as legit as possible as part of a new division that I'm calling Squishy Sports. And because I'm known as the creative vagabond online, I've decided to name the team the Vagabonds. Now, I've put together a team of 6 people, including myself, who I may be announcing at a later date, perhaps when season 1 of Marvel Rivals starts, as we're currently in season 0, which is Doom's Rise. But when season 1 drops, that might be when we're going to start pushing out some more Squishy Sports content. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be fun and exciting, and it's always fun to have a bunch of friends gaming with you to enhance the overall experience. And we've had a couple games on stream already as well, so the chemistry and the fun plays are all starting to formulate. Now, if you haven't caught it, since we're still in the holiday season, over on my band channel I released a MASHUP karaoke cover of Last Christmas by Wham. And it wasn't a cover that was like super serious or anything, I just wanted to have some fun with it, just needed to get some stuff off my chest, and those 3 songs just happened to all work together and create a pretty cohesive song that I'm pretty happy with, even though the key of the song is pretty high and it's a struggle to hit some of those notes sometimes. But it was just a fun little project, and it was great to get my friends involved as well, and we made a fun little karaoke style video for that. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do check it out over there. There should be a link in the corner. And yeah, that's kind of it for the Squishyverse news, although I will mention one other thing which I talked about right at the start. As we're sort of approaching the end of the year, unfortunately that means some things have to come to a close, and this new segment is going to be one of those. Well, not entirely, it's going to go on an indefinite hiatus, but what I'm going to try and set up at some point next year is an email newsletter which you guys can sign up to. And rather than making these monthly news videos, I'll be sending out a random newsletter every now and then, just so I can manage my time a little bit better. Creating these news videos does take a lot of time, especially to compile all the information that happens in a month and then film and edit it all together. And these videos unfortunately don't get as much views as some of the other videos, so in order to save some time I want to reallocate some things. And so until we get that newsletter running, please do join the Discord server, because that's where you're going to be updated with all the latest news. But otherwise, yeah, we're going to get a mailing system happening soon. That's where additional news will come out for you guys as well, which should be exciting. It's going to be a lot easier to manage, and I'm also going to try and see if some of the mods will want to get amongst that as well, so maybe they have something they want to share as well, and that way we're sort of fostering a bit of a community there. It's not all just me, but also the people that have helped build this community. They get to have a little bit of say, and then you guys get to know them a little bit better as well. But that's sort of it for the Squishyverse news. A bit of a quick one, but there is still more things to talk about, especially all the interesting things that have happened this year. So in film news, they've released a trailer for 28 Years Later. I don't know what happened to 28 Months Later. Was that an actual thing? I don't know. But they had 28 days, 28 weeks, and then now we're suddenly at 28 years later, which looks interesting. I've been watching the previous ones and I kind of enjoy them, you know, as a little bit of a zombie film. So it'll be interesting to see how all these years later literally how this new one is going to be. We also got a special look at Captain America 4, and I don't know what's going on with that movie. They're going through a lot of reshoots, but hopefully that's going to be a good thing for the film itself when it comes out in February next year. Regardless, I'm still going to be excited for it. I love Marvel. By now you should know me. But yeah, it's been cool to see a bit more shots of the Red Hulk and a bit more of a look at the dynamic between the new Falcon and obviously Sam Wilson's Cap. Now, apparently there's also news that, well, earlier this month apparently there was news that they're going to be sort of erasing the Sony Marvel universe somehow. So the latest Sony Marvel film, Kraven the Hunter, hit cinemas, and it has flopped probably more than any other Sony Marvel film to date. And that's saying something, because from what I saw in the trailers, it looked a bit more promising than Morbius. But then again, if we're going for the meme here, Morbius is probably the greatest movie of all time. But yeah, so who knows what's going to happen with the Sony Marvel universe. They keep saying one thing and then taking it back, and we don't know what's going on. But we are excited, hopefully, for a new Spider-Man soon. Hopefully. I mean, there's rumors going around that there will be a Spider-Man 4 soon. We just don't know where it fits in the grand scheme of the MCU right now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Now, also during this month, they're releasing episodes for Marvel Studios' What If Season 3. I haven't started it yet, but it's good to see that they've got another season of What If. I'm going to hopefully be binging binging it when all of the episodes are out. Another teaser that dropped recently was the official Superman teaser to kick off the new DCU films with a completely new story fronted by James Gunn. It's going to be interesting to see if this Superman will live up to the expectation. It is currently one of the most viewed teaser trailers since it dropped a couple days ago, and I feel like a lot of the DCU right now is just banking on this film to do well. Who knows? I'm still not very fond of DC. Marvel's still going to be my favorite, and that's just me, that's my bias. But yeah, it is what it is. And one other piece of film news, apparently there's going to be a Chainsaw Man movie covering the next sort of story arc for the franchise, which is kind of interesting. I thought it was going to be a new season, or maybe the movie leads into the season. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, but I need to go check it out right after filming this. But anyways, let's move on to game news, because in December we had the Game Awards for 2024. Now, I'll admit, I'm a gamer, but I don't always watch these live streams and award shows and stuff. As much as I'd like to, I never really have the time to. So I always end up going and having a look at the highlights and stuff like that, and sort of seeing, you know, what's coming out, rather than spend hours on end watching the whole thing. It's better to just, you know, get your sleep or whatever, and then check out the highlights later on, and hopefully something will kind of catch my eye. So as part of the whole Game Awards, there's also a lot of new games that get announced. And so some of the games that I kind of want to highlight to you guys right now that were announced: Dave the Diver in the Jungle. So apparently Dave the Diver is getting a new adventure now. I haven't exactly seen the trailer for this one yet, but I'm looking at some of the screenshots here. Celeste 2 kind of looks interesting. It's kind of giving me a Baldur's Gate 3 vibe. The Witcher 4 was some massive news as well. There's a new Elden Ring game, which has got people talking. Split Fiction looks really good. I saw the trailer for that. If you guys haven't seen my gameplay of It Takes Two with our good friend and Discord mod Mari, feel free to check it out up here, because Split Fiction is made by the same people, and I feel like it might be a cool game to stream. And perhaps with Mari again, who knows? We got a sneak preview of Borderlands 4 as well, giving us a bit more details into the game. I don't know too much about this one, but apparently a old Nintendo 64 classic, Turok, which was an FPS franchise, is supposedly getting rebooted, so that could be an interesting one as well. A new trailer for Splitgate 2 as well, and there's also another game that people seem to be hating on right now, which is the Intergalactic trailer. And while visually it has some kind of cool looking things in it, the world is sort of going nuts because there might be some sort of potential narrative that it's pushing. I don't know too much about it. I'm not going to dive into any of that. I mean, so I was watching the trailer and I was sort of interested in it. Like visually, I like all that sort of space sci-fi stuff, especially if it gives off like, you know, a bit of like the Star-Lord 70s, 80s vibes. But you also got to wonder, what does it bring to the table that is going to interest every gamer? Because right now, everyone's sort of having some kind of issue with it. It might end up being a good game. Who knows? If you think about it, games that were kind of successful in a similar style would probably be Beyond Good and Evil. And that was a fantastic game. But then now that poses the question, how is Intergalactic going to do better than a game like Beyond Good and Evil? Or is it just going to be a really tacky ripoff? I suppose we'll find out more in the coming months. A couple of other games that I also wanted to mention that weren't really highlighted in the Game Awards were things like Fragpunk. So Fragpunk looks kind of cool because it's like you get these different like trading cards and it affects the FPS gameplay. Path of Exile 2, which seems to be a game that everyone's sort of talking about right now. Aside from Marvel Rivals, everyone's sort of also talking about Path of Exile 2. But yeah, speaking of Marvel Rivals, it looks like they also have their own comic now, which is kind of cool. I wonder if we can read it on a stream or something like that, or make a video where we're reading the comic and getting a bit of a reaction from that. That might be interesting. But that's it for games news. Let's move on to music news. There's a bunch of different songs and stuff that have dropped in this month. Not as many as last month. I'm pretty sure last month had heaps of songs. This month was more games rather than songs. So there is one performance that I do want to highlight. Speaking of games, actually, 21 Pilots performed their new song for the Arcane series, The Line, and that song made its live debut at the Game Awards. And there was something that I really want to highlight in that video, which is Tyler's scream. He switches things up with the live version, which is really cool, I think. And the scream, when I heard that, like most of the performance, right, sounded like the studio version, but then when he gets to the build-up part, the sort of heading towards the climax of the song, he screams one of the parts instead of what he does on the studio version, and the scream was so good. It just really complemented the song. It just really took us to this part where the song just needed something extra, and that was perfect. And it's funny because there was a lot of streamers who were watching the Game Awards and they've never seen or heard of 21 Pilots before, and they were like, wow, this guy can sing. And he honestly really can. In terms of other songs that were released, I don't think there was many that kind of stood out to me. I feel like because of Christmas and everything, artists are kind of like holding back on their songs, because during the Christmas season, I feel like most of the songs are all going to be overtaken by the Christmas celebration itself or just Christmas songs. So yeah, I think it's actually quite hard to pull off song releases in December. I know that from experience, since last year I released a track called Bestie around Christmas time and didn't do as well as some of my other songs, even though the reception of it as I was teasing it did a lot better than some of my other songs. So I guess you got to think about when you release songs as well, because if you release it too close to Christmas, people are just way too busy. Probably won't check it out till like months later, because when they start putting it off, they'll keep putting it off until a time suits them, and it might never suit them. So that's a little tip for you guys out there who are planning on releasing music. All right, well, there's only one other thing that I would really mention before we wrap up the final news video of 2024 and probably for the foreseeable future, which is a sad thing to think about, but it's necessary for myself and yeah, the future of this channel as well. So the final thing I want to end on is basically McDonald's did a little collaboration with Squid Games. Obviously, I'm assuming it's to hype up the next season, but it kind of seems out of place. Now, thankfully, they didn't make it the Happy Meal, right? I feel like there's some connotations there if you look into it a little bit. Like if you've seen the actual box, it will remind you of a Happy Meal, right? So it's kind of interesting to see McDonald's, a brand that's kind of known for food and spreading joy, happiness, especially with fast food, and you know what I'm trying to say. Like even their meal itself is called a Happy Meal. So it's kind of interesting to see that they've taken this dystopian death game TV show thing and made it into its own meal. It feels like a really massive contrast for the brand, but also it's kind of weird, it's kind of funky, but I actually think it's kind of clever. I think it's a good way for Squid Games to market their next season, especially to people who have no idea what Squid Game is. But yeah, that's probably it for the news, I think. Yeah, like period. It feels weird to say that, but yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying these new segments. Unfortunately, like I said, this is the last one for the foreseeable future. That's not going to be the end of the news though. We're going to still have things being posted on Discord, and we're going to have an email newsletter happening soon. So stay tuned for all of that. Please do join the Discord if you're not yet a part of it. But that's going to be it from me today. I hope you guys have enjoyed and maybe learned something from this news video. And if you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as always. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.
I have one thing to say to you. Follow Squishy Joshua.